Tonight, the 2022 NFL Draft. Tomorrow, 2023 NFL mock drafts. Grossi Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have your Packers name, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. We finally made it, Grossi, and today, instead of doing yet another mock, we had a night of too many mock drafts last night, which was a resounding success. I instead wanted to focus on 5 players that I think have an outside chance of being drafted by the Packers this evening, whether at 22 or 28. And they're not going to be wide receivers. We talked a lot about wide receivers. We talked about other positions as well. But for this specific video, I really wanted to highlight 5 guys that, whether they've been mocked to the Packers or I just kind of have a gut feeling that they not only fit a need, but they also fit the prototypical type that the Packers like to go after in these certain positions. So without any further ado, let's do it. Starting off with number 1, you got defensive back from Michigan, Mr. Daxton Hill. Now, we've talked about Daxton Hill on this channel before, but not to the same degree as a Lewis Cine, for example, who I think could very much be in play for the Packers. But Daxton Hill has recently been rising up boards and has been mocked to the Packers a couple of times. I've even seen him mocked to the Packers down at 22. Why would the Packers have any interest? Well, he's 6 foot, 191 pounds, ran a 4.38 40-yard dash, is only 21 years old, which will be important, we will talk about. And the big thing, like the other guy I'm going to talk about on this list, is versatility. We have talked about the need for a potential safety, not only the fact that Darnell Savage, there's questions there, but we need a true slot corner so you don't have to throw Jair Alexander there all the time. And Daxton Hill, he could do both of those things. In 2021, he had 42 solo tackles, 4 for a loss, half a sack, 2 interceptions, and 8 passes defended. What I love about him besides his versatility, this guy is an aggressive tackler. I would not be surprised if he actually is one of the first safeties taken off the board besides Kyle Hamilton. So he not only fits a need for the Packers, but like when we drafted Micah Hyde, he can play both positions, so that's kind of a 2-for-1 deal. And I know Joe Barry would have a ton of fun utilizing him on the field, and don't be surprised if the Packers, again, don't draft a wide receiver at all tonight, and instead they look to make that defense even better. Number 2, I'm sticking with safety here, and this one, I'm starting to warm up to this idea. I'm not seeing him a whole lot being drafted to the Packers, but like I just got a feeling, and that's the safety from Penn State, Jaquan Brisker. Ran a 4.49 40-yard dash, so slower than Daxton Hill. Also is 23 years old, so he's a bit older than Daxton Hill. So right off the bat, there's things that are going to potentially push him down the board. But other than that, I love the way that this kid plays. Versatile again, can play free safety. On top of that, can play nickel. He's a great run defender. This guy has no fear about making any tackles, and he's usually very disruptive in the run game. In 2021, he had 38 solo tackles, 6 for a loss, 2 interceptions, and 5 passes defended. There are definitely some things that he needs to develop on, and I could see him going in round 2. However, if the Packers, maybe they already dressed wide receiver, or they got another defender or offensive tackle with their 22nd pick and they're sitting there at 28, they don't think a guy like Brisker is going to be around by the time they pick in the second. So this is kind of more of a gut feeling, but keep your eye out for Jaquan Brisker because I think that he checks a lot of boxes, and even though he's a little bit older than Daxton Hill, I think the Packers could utilize him. Then moving on to linebacker, you got the linebacker from Georgia, Quay Walker, another guy who has been recently mocked to the Green Bay Packers, 6'4", 241 pounds. And this is, again, not a new thing that we've talked about on this channel, the Packers going after a linebacker, whether it's going to be Nakobe Dean or you can get a guy like Walker. And Walker, who knows? A lot of people originally were mocking him to the second round, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets picked midway through the first round. He didn't have a 2020 season, but in 2021 had 37 solo tackles, 5.5 for a loss, a sack and a half, and 3 passes defended. And Consistency is key here with his tackling. He doesn't have like the greatest speed on the outside, but he can do it all. He's good in the passing game, and he could also stop the run. You go look at some of his tape in Georgia, and he usually is around the ball almost every single play. So I like Quay Walker. He wouldn't be like my first pick if we're going after a linebacker, but I could definitely see the Packers going in this direction. Number 4, you got Tyler Smith, the tackle from Tulsa. This is another pick that makes a lot of sense for the Packers, and there's other guys on the board that we have talked about to fulfill our offensive line needs. You have a Kenyon Green, for example, but Tyler Smith there at tackle, 6'5", 324 pounds, played left tackle in Tulsa, and he could theoretically be moved as a guard, which again, the Packers could utilize either of those. We don't know where Jenkins is going to be playing or where Yash is going to be moved around. Right tackle is still a question, and I think that's going to be one of the stories coming out of training camp this year. He is a raw talent. His form is a little bit off, but he definitely has some power, and the guy is still damn good even without perfect form, which can be fixed via coaching, and we definitely have the coaching staff to do that. So the Packers, if they wanted to address offensive line early, don't be surprised if Tyler Smith gets his name called. And finally, to talk about the defense once more, you got Arnold Edge, the edge from Penn State, 6'2", 250 pounds, and this guy is flying up draft boards. Originally a day 2 pick, you're starting to see him go early 20s, could go at the end of the first round, and he's been mocked to the Packers a couple times. His initial power is phenomenal. He gets up quick, he's aggressive, and that's everything that you want to see in an edge. I think he immediately would be able to be a rotational player, and I've talked about this. The Packers definitely could address edge in the first round. They got Rashawn Gary when we had Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. They just extended Preston Smith. Rashawn Gary eventually is going to get his big contract, but don't be surprised if they want to try to stay young at that position because there's not a whole lot of depth at edge right this second. In 2021, he had 34 solo tackles, 18 of them for a loss, and 9.5 sacks. So just looking at his stats, they pop off the page. If you want, go take a look. If you don't have time to look at actual game tape, you just want to see some highlights of them, there's definitely no shortage of that. And while I think there is a good chance the Packers wind up moving around in the draft, don't be surprised if they're sitting at number 28 and they decide to address edge. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who are some non-wide receivers you think the Packers could be targeting? We've talked ad nauseum about potential wide receivers the Packers could target. We talked about other positions, a guy like Jordan Davis, for example. They might go defensive line. We've talked safety, edge, corner. We've talked about offensive tackle. We've talked about just about every single position. And finally tonight, the Green Bay Packers are going to be drafting. Are they going to be trading up? Are they going to be trading back? I do not know, but I'm just ready to frickin' get to the draft. A reminder that I will be live tonight at 7:30 Eastern. You're not going to want to miss, especially the beginning of this stream. So I will see you there, and I'm very much looking forward to this. You know, send me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy at all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.